Welcome to Mannin Line on Manx Radio. We're talking about tourism. Well, we used to call it tourism. Visit Isle of Man is one of the agencies within the Department for Enterprise on the island. Chief Execs Deborah Heather and one of the political members, Sarah Maltby, MHK, on Mannin Line today. If you've got anything to talk about regarding tourism, our tourist offering, what exactly it is that we do, how much money we make, can we make more money, can we do it better? You got any thoughts? Text, email, call and WhatsApp. Call 66 13 68. Text 166 177. And WhatsApp on the same number. Email studio@manxradio.com and 66 13 68 on the phone. And Sarah Maltby, Deborah Heather. Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Fastamai. I'm trying to remember. How long ago was it, Deborah?
Well, Sarah's just reminded me it was October of last year that I came in with Ranald, our recently retired chair.
My word. What's happened in the past 6 months?
Oh, lots and lots. Too much to remember. We've moved on from strength to strength, I think. We had a really good end of last quarter of last year, which we saw a real difference made in terms of occupancy and travel, especially November time, which is a hard month to crack. A little bit quieter this year in the beginning of the year, but that's typical in a year where you've got Easter that's early. And also a very wet beginning of the year, which is a UK problem, full stop. So I think we felt the pain from that. But things have picked up since then, and it's all going really well. We've got 2 new hotels coming, another one in the pipeline, looking for planning permission. So all looking rosy.
Okay, which hotels are on the way then?
So you've got the Tavere Hotel at the Villiers site, and the Salvation Army building, the Citadel, has been turned into a hotel.
Okay, all right. And Sarah Maltby, as a political member, do you have day-to-day involvement with the department? How often do you get involved?
I'm very lucky that the team within Visit are very well established, and they work very hard for the Isle of Man, much harder than what you might believe actually for a small team. But they are a constant on the end of the telephone for me, email, and we do meet, of course, to be able to go through issues and to be able to discuss numbers or to discuss strategy. But generally, they kind of look after themselves, and then they invite me through when there's policy questions to be answered.
And on a political level, where do you sit? Do you advise? Do you cajole? Do you tell? Where do you fit?
A little bit of everything, I think. That might be a question for Deborah. And in as much as how does she feel that I was, how it works. I'm myself. I'm very an authentic person. You kind of what you see is what you get. So it could be a policy matter. It could be something that constituents got onto me about. It could be something that I've read in the news and. For me, I'd rather just get straight to Deborah, send it to her. She'll send it on to the right person within the team. And that seems to be how it works. Very much led by what the people need of the Isle of Man.
OK, here's a message now, a question in from Celia, who's in Ramsey, who dropped me a note to say, how closely does Visit Isle of Man work with Manx National Heritage? There have been some concerns about the upkeep of some of the Manx National Heritage attractions, which obviously is disappointing for visitors to arrive and find things are either closed or broken.
So Connie is on our board. So Connie attends the Visit Isle of Man board. So
this is Connie Lovell.
Yes, Connie Lovell. So yes, so we work very closely with Connie and her team. Clearly, we're trying to help support what they're trying to achieve. We're working on some digital solutions in terms of trying to get visitors around the island at the right time. One of the key things we've had to do in this last year is try and communicate with the groups coming to the island opening times. Nobody has an endless pot of budget to staff these buildings. So what we're really trying to do is have a joined up approach to when things are open, where we push customers to so we can get them across the island and see as much as they can as possible. But it's a work in progress.
Okay. I mean, they, of course, anybody who's got is it a National Trust or English Heritage Pass in the UK has got automatic access to Manx National Heritage stuff over here.
They do, yes.
I mean, Manx National Heritage make no secret of the fact, obviously, one of their biggest expenses is people. That's everybody's biggest expense, and often that has to be compromised in terms of keeping attractions up to where they should be. They've got a problem. I mean, do you play any part in lobbying on their behalf?
So Manx National Heritage are actually part of the department, so their home is the Department of Enterprise. So we are much more connected than it would appear. It's not arm's length as such, but we will always help them wherever we can. In fact, the year before last, we tried an extra season, an extra additional month in terms of opening, and Visit supported that and paid for that. It was the October and the March of last year to help grow that season. We've needed to put some different actions in place this year, but we're all trying to work towards the same thing.
Is it possible to get the cafe open at the Manx Museum at all?
I'm really not sure what the situation is. I know they've got a new ops director at Manx National Heritage, and I'm sure that's one of her priorities.
Okay, let's get to the lines then. We've got Charlie with us now. Hi, Charlie. You're live with Visit Isle of Man. Oh, no, it's I think it's Elliot. Is it Elliot?
That's right.
Oh, hi, Elliot. Yes, you're live with Visit Isle of Man.
Hi. I'm calling from across for my sins, but I would, I very much enjoy visiting the island, and we've visited the island since the early 90s.
Okay, whereabouts are you?
I'm in Shropshire.
Okay.
Visit the island during racing and not during racing with younger children who are now much older, but just a very clear example of what the tourism could do. You have the rafts at Port Erin. Fantastic fun. And what would be the cost to maintain those out of the budget of a tourist board? What would be the cost for that? Just a great example. Something that's great fun, that's quite unique. It's not something that we ever deal across. And to hear it's no longer available, just for quite a menial expense, I would consider.
We talked about that, I think, last week. I think the commissioners are responsible for the rafts at Port Erin, aren't they, Deborah?
Yes, they are. So we're not really an operational board. Our job is to market and do destination management. But of course, we can try and help wherever we can. I'm not really clear on the situation in terms of the commissioners, but it's something we can pick up.
Yeah. I mean, do you understand when people see something like that, and obviously you're a government department, is there nobody who can just say to the commissioners, somebody get a few bob, it's the summertime, you're a bucket and spade beach, get the rafts working.
So I think we talked about it last time, or we were at the very early stages, but we're just about to develop this. Well, we have a new forum called Destination First, which is exactly focused on that. The idea being to improve both for residents and for visitors what the tourism or what the leisure facilities might be, as well as the way the island's presented, the customer service element. And Ranald, who has recently retired from our board, is just about to take that over as the board chair of that. It's got Charles Gard on it. It's got all sorts of different commissioners and clerks. In fact, Port Erin is included on as a member. And then we've got some senior departmental government people from DEFRA and from DOI. So the whole objective is this, to get some joined up working and do just what Andy's suggested there.
Shelter, some sort of shelter with a bit of weather protection would be very welcome.
Okay. And you say you've been coming since, what, the 1990s?
1992 was my first visit, when I was far too young to think I'd ever be returning with children. I was barely a child myself.
It's interesting, and now we've got you here.
Yep.
Why? Why do you come to the Isle of Man? You've got a host of other choices. You could go here, there and everywhere.
Well, the Welsh coast is an hour away, and it's not cheap to visit you. It is not cheap for reasons out of your control, and it's not always cheap to stay. But I've stayed in some fantastic places. I mean, I might not be comparing like to like. For us, visiting the Isle of Man sits in between a nice holiday in Cornwall and possibly a cheaper offering abroad. That's where you come in. When you take into the price of flights and a hire car, although the hire car's by no means punitive, Millcrease, can't say enough good words about Millcrease. There's a plug for Millcrease. But I mean, initially I came for the racing, fell in love with the island. And when I got, children of my own, they now come and they come independently. Well, they certainly would love to come independently to paddleboard at Port Erin. That's a fantastic little venture there, the paddleboarding. And, Braddock Glen, fantastic. And then now the cafe's not open at Braddock Glen anymore, or certainly not open where you could just walk up and have a coffee. And possibly enjoy one of the best views you're ever going to get with a cappuccino.
Okay. All right, Elliot, we appreciate that. Come and see us next time you're back on the Isle of Man. We appreciate the call. And coming back to this, lots of people will say, and if we can get to the bottom of this, it'd be great. How long does it take to open a cafe? I know it may not be your responsibility, but surely when we have people coming here and they simply can't get a cup of tea, that surely isn't an insurmountable problem.
It's an interesting one. So I come from hospitality. I used to run hotels, in my dim dark past about 10 years ago. And I always think of myself as a hospitality operator. It isn't hard to open a cafe. What is hard is the cost of goods these days. It's also really difficult to recruit, and therefore that whole idea that post-COVID you can just have a building, have it open all of the time, whether the customers come in or not, people can't make that work commercially as they used to. So people are having to try different things and work through different things. And I think in that instance, they're going to do events rather than open on a daily basis, because it's speculative. And what they're doing is trying to manage their costs and manage their profit margins. And you can't really blame them for that.
Okay, Sheila, you're live with Visit Isle of Man. Hello, Sheila.
Hello.
Hello, Sheila.
What's on your mind, Sheila?
Oh, sorry. I was talking about not being able to get any food at the airport for an evening flight out.
Okay, is this airside? Is it after you've checked in or before you've checked in?
After you've checked in.
Okay.
But still down in the check-in lounge.
Okay, so after you've checked it, do you mean actually inside the airport or in the departures lounge?
No, inside the airport.
All right, we're talking about the cafe then.
Yeah, I mean, I'd imagine that they suffer from the same thing, that you can't, as numbers and demand reduces, you can't just leave it open and staff something. But the airside side of it would have been open. I think that is open until the last
that's
flight.
That's Costa, isn't it? Inside. But who's responsible for the cafe in the waiting hall? Is that DOI? Would that be their responsibility?
I'm not entirely sure.
Sarah Maltby, any ideas?
Gut instinct would probably say it's probably ran through the DOI.
From the DOI.
That would be my gut instinct, but I'm not completely sure.
Okay, I'm interested to get to the bottom of this, Deborah, because as you say, you're in hospitality for quite a long time. So the concept of, as you say, putting together a business or putting together a service whereby you're serving the public. Are you saying nowadays that really isn't because before, if you did things properly, people would come and you could make some sort of profit. Is that very difficult now? Is it impossible? How do you square things?
So, I think something different happened on the Isle of Man compared to the UK during COVID. A lot of business in the UK really adapted and changed, and because the island had isolated itself and was still delivering for the customers, the residents that were here, the businesses didn't move as much as they have in other places. But there's no doubt that hospitality is under huge pressure and has been ever since COVID. We have an employment issue, full stop, and that's not unique to us on the island. That's everywhere. We also have costs, and again, not unique to us. And I think what we have to do is find a route out. But you're certainly right, Andy. If you produce a good product and you get momentum and you keep going, you can survive and you can do very, very well. It's how much has been reinvested into businesses alongside helping them manage some of the variables. But for me, when people are managing their time and they're managing their opening hours, that's a really great way of them managing those variables.
Okay, Sheila?
Yes.
Any thoughts?
Yeah. Well, why can't they just have... I was going to say a sandwich machine if necessary, but why can't they just have something available when it's actually a flight? Especially late at night when people, have got to be there 2 hours beforehand. They had a 9-month-old baby with them. They had food for the baby, that was fine, but they hadn't eaten. They're going to Gatwick, so they're not going to leave the island till after 8 o'clock. Then, of course, they've had no food since lunchtime. They even went into Castletown, or one of the family did, to try and find a takeaway. Couldn't even find a takeaway. So there's something definitely lacking. I mean, why can't the airport have something when there are actual flights going out?
Okay, all right.
I mean, it's only for an hour or so.
Okay, we appreciate that, Sheila. Thanks for that point. Obviously, places like Manx National Heritage and the DOI at the airport are going to be charging a rent, aren't they? If they're bringing somebody in from outside to do it, they will have to pay. So surely the thing to do is for a year or so, just drop the rent, give it rent free to somebody who can do it.
I mean, I can't comment on that because we don't get involved in the way that those are valued. But I do go back to that. We have to think about demand and supply. People have to be practical here. That businesses are trying to survive, and actually, if there is airside food available, it makes sense to not have the other one available.
Okay. Here's a message in now from John, who said, it appears that many visitors fail to see the best bits of the Isle of Man. This email says, as a member of the small group that meets visitors at Port Erin railway station, I like to chat to visitors and ask how they're enjoying their stay. For example, when asked, how did you like Ramsey? The response from the coach parties is quite often, there's not much there. Well, this isn't surprising because they're dropped off at St Paul's Square and they don't find Murrock Park. The park's a gem. There doesn't appear to be any simple leaflet that we can give out showing the top 10 sites of the Isle of Man. What's available is the extraordinary one-stop guide, 72 pages of densely packed print, and it's information overload. Similarly, M&H produces a 32-page booklet, which is information overload, but fails to give details of opening times. Again, John says, it's time to take a fresh look. We need a simple leaflet with opening times.
Hi, John. And that makes it, you make a good point, but because people are trying to manage their hours away, the businesses are demanded, then the opening hours have changed. And this stuff's online. The reason our one-stop guide is big is because we have to represent everybody. We can't not represent the whole island. But we do give the coach drivers a whole leaflet with the best places to go. We try and manage where they're going and we try and make them go to the best places. You're absolutely right. People will miss stuff and we need to get them back and keep getting them back to see the rest of it. We're just about to start some campaigns as they leave the island to try and get a bounce back to tempt them to come back. But most of this stuff is online just because of the sheer nature of trying, of the way it's dynamic. The dynamic means it changes all the time.
Okay. Charlie, you're live with Visit Isle of Man.
Hi. I've seen a big increase in walking groups coming to the island over the last few years. Now, I park up on Marine Drive quite a lot, read the paper, take the dog for a walk. Now, they walk up and they see the gates going across and stop. I tell them, you can't get through to Port Cedric. Oh, right, no signage up there. Now, the person you had on yesterday said they'd just finished work at Warbury and got all the railings painted. Well, you need to look again because half the railings are still not painted. But apart from that, the majority of walkers say, beautiful walk along Marine Drive, but isn't it dowdy? You can't walk on a third of the footpath because it's overgrown. Now, they send a tractor up with a cutter on the back in November each year to give it one cut, and that's it.
Okay, Marine Drive, Sarah Maltby.
Thank you for this question, Charlie. In 2021, I was elected and I picked up a petition quite shortly afterward from David Buttery, which was calling for government agencies to work better together to try and manage our footpaths and the upkeep and the maintenance of those footpaths. I brought the petition to Tynwald and a committee was formed, and that committee produced very succinct recommendations, and those recommendations were actually fully supported and agreed by the government. We are now at a stage where the government have now established this working group, we are waiting for them to report back. Now, the report back should have happened in April to Tynwald. I'm assured. I've put a question in recently to ask, when is this report going to come back? Because I think the issue that we have here is that we have lots of good people and lots of goodwill out there, but we just aren't coordinated. And I think that's what the report actually said. You know, we have budget in different areas, and if we can pull that budget together and that resource, then we can better look after our public rights of way, and that won't just benefit our visitors, it benefits our residents. And that's the reason why I picked up the petition in the first place. It's about that mental health, that well-being of our residents, which then go on to promote and encourage more people to come to the island, because we have something special here. We just need to get our act together.
Can you understand why people would think this takes ages? You're talking about something relatively simple that if you're in private industry, in business, you would just organise over a couple of weeks, maybe a month or so. It seems that the whole thing gets mired in process and creates a mountain of paperwork. And still, as you say, the job's not finished.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It feels like when I picked up the petition, I thought this will be a nice little introduction to politics. I'll get my teeth into this and see how we get on. It soon turned into a huge can of worms that I'd opened, and I realised just how difficult this was going to be to try and coordinate.
So what's the hold-up?
But the hold-up now is this report to find out what the working group, which does comprise of all of the vital parts that you would expect to be on this group, for their report to say this is how we're going to do it. Now, I don't want just the report to say this is how we're going to do it. I want to then see the timeline. So this is me talking as an MHK who's picked up a petition and not maybe as the policy directive of the Visit Agency Board. But doesn't it all coordinate and coincide very perfectly? No. So it has. This is why it felt like a natural fit for me to go into the Visit Agency Board, because this is something that I've been very interested and keen on right from day one.
Okay, Charlie.
Well, one more thing. I encouraged some friends from Tullamore Close to come over last year. They were railway enthusiasts, and I told them they had the steam railway on. And they came over, thoroughly enjoyed it, thought the place was fantastic. They used the horse trams, they were staying on the promenade 4 to 6 times a day. The biggest disappointment with them was, why didn't it go the full length of the promenade? Now, we paid out this money to have it done, but the money was used for something else.
Okay, so all right. Let's just ask a question then to Deborah, Heather. I'm not going to ask you whether or not you want it, because obviously with an official role. But I mean, we've got a halfway horse tram at the moment. It's unique in the world, and yet people just look. We know it's not available on a Monday. We get cruise liners on a Monday, and we got Americans walking around looking for the horse trams. I mean, what's Visit Isle of Man's view of the situation with the horse tram?
Obviously, it's going to benefit our visitors, full stop. I mean, there isn't any doubt about that. You've got the cruise ship passengers coming in. That's a big part of our strategy going forward. And it's amazing to hear that your friends came over and used it so often. It is something to be really valued and cherished. The heritage is such a massive part of our offer.
Well, we see it every day. So lots of people, I would say 99% of people on the Isle of Man take it for granted.
I think that's true.
Not knowing that there isn't one like it anywhere in the world.
And I think that's true, and I think we can see that completely, Andy. So our passenger survey figures gets us around 98-99% satisfaction and or very satisfied from our visitors. Our residents don't feel the same way because we've become slightly oblivious, and it's how we can reawaken that whole, joy in the island and really sort of trying to see it from a new perspective. And for me, I've been here 15 months, so still everything is really quite new and really very exciting and very different. And I think we've just got to embrace that a bit more and remind people. Okay,
Charlie, thanks for that. I've got a message in now from Paddy, who says, can I ask, I attend various car shows across, particularly the massive NEC Classic Car Show in November. The Irish Tourist Board have a stand there, but why not the Isle of Man, even if just a small stand? It's a big market for cars on the Isle of Man. Whilst we get various clubs coming over, we could get a lot more if we were to promote the Isle of Man in cooperation with the Steam Packet and some special deals. Thank you, Paddy. And of course, on the Isle of Man, we have a huge motor museum. Anybody who's into cars never fails to be impressed by that motor museum at Jerby. Is car clubs, is that a market for us?
Yeah, no, definitely. So we're doing some research at the moment. And by the way, I'm not a huge car fan. I don't really like cars, motorbikes. They're for me to get me from A to B. But I think the Motor Museum is absolutely fantastic. I think it's one of our best attractions and it's a real opportunity for us. I think the thing we have to be sensitive of is people coming over here to try and race. We don't want to have to close the roads any more than we have to do for the residents that live around the race course. But car clubs, absolutely an opportunity. This is the sort of thing that actually the type of properties, hotels and things like that would normally go and work towards. But of course we will support them. At the moment we're carrying out a piece of research to properly identify what is our opportunity in terms of meetings, incentive trips, conferences and events, and car clubs would fall into that. It's that sort of special interest group.
Okay, and here's another one regarding special interest as well. The Bee Gees. The Bee Gees statue now has become one of the most selfied things on the Isle of Man. What can we do, Sarah Maltby, what can the Isle of Man do to capitalise on the Bee Gees?
Oh, to capitalise on the Bee Gees specifically. I think the Isle of Man has become... Everyone now knows about the Isle of Man probably because of the Bee Gees and the TT races, and obviously people like Mark Cavendish. We have great ambassadors, not just the Bee Gees, who have gone out there across the world and have spread the word about the island. So to capitalise specifically on the Bee Gees,
it's just that
we could have a walking tour, I suppose, of the different blue badges that are available on the Isle of Man. But
there are various different groups looking at this. So Manx National Heritage are trying to see what they can gather together to do some sort of an exhibition. Yeah. And there's another group that potentially could get us...
so MNH is looking at a Bee Gees exhibition?
They're looking at something like that. They're collating to see how much material they've got, what they would have to go out to get to do something. But there's also another group who are in contact with Barry Gibb, and it's rumoured he might come next year.
Yeah, right. I had heard that, but I didn't want to...
Maybe I've just spilt the beans.
Well,
sorry.
That would be absolutely fantastic. I mean, from a Manx Radio point of view, I remember the vehement discussions there were 25 odd years ago with various people saying the Bee Gees were from Manchester, and our late great Bernie Quayle used to do the Late Show, maintained they were from the Isle of Man. They were all three of them born at the Jane Crook Hall. Barry was registered what used to be the old Maley's Chemist, which is now Manx Telecom. His parents lived above there. And also, Bernie was a big BG ambassador. We used to get, at some time at Manx Radio, you get groups of 6 Japanese people would turn up at the door, and Bernie would do a tour. Would take them around the Isle of Man, take them to Union Mills, to the post office, and Ballacameen Drive and what have you, take people around there. And I have to say, Deborah and Sarah, they loved it.
Yeah.
They absolutely loved it. So we have something that's completely unique. We've got a statue, and that's down to David Christian, who was one of the people who put together that statue for Douglas Council. So, I mean, to know that MNH are planning something on the Bee Gees, if it happens, would be terrific.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, we're live with Visit Isle of Man. Deborah Heather is the chief exec. Sarah Maltby is the MHK, and Stephen is with us. Hi, Stephen. You're with Visit Isle of Man.
Hi, Visit Isle of Man. Hi, Andy, and hi, listeners. What I would like to ask is, I know you say that you concentrate on marketing, but I'd like to ask several questions. Firstly is, do you attempt to coordinate with possibly any big hotel chains on the island and the steam packet for special offers? Because you ask the man in the street or the lady in the street, and everyone will say we could improve the numbers visiting the Isle of Man by cheaper fares. Now, I know that when the private company were making their pitch for to continue their offer, part of it was £12 million worth of special offers. And it appears that at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any special offers coming along. So that's my first question to you is, do you coordinate any special offers with the carrier and hotel groups? Or are you just purely marketing quite separate from these two other organisations?
So there's a few different parts of that. There is still some special offers that are out there that the Steam Packet do themselves, and they do work. They have a company called Steam Packet Holidays. They work with the hotel groups. They actually have a substantial budget to be able to market these, and we do work alongside them. The MD of the Steam Packet is on our board as well. So there is a very collaborative approach to this. Price-wise, I mean, we've made our comments to the select committee, and that report will come back in due course. I think there is opportunity there. I do think there is an opportunity for us to do more. We just need some direction politically, I think.
Stephen?
Well, it'd be interesting to see what Sarah has to say if it's a political decision that we need. I think that a lot of people are saying that it's the fare structure, certainly for the visit industry, that is putting people off. After all, if you two ladies would like to go along this afternoon to have a whistle-stop tour of Port Eyre and Castletown, Peel and Ramsey, and you could play a game of Spot the Visitor. Now, I don't want to degenerate what you're doing, but that's the facts. You go out there, the island is desperately quiet outside TT. Now, my next question for you is, we all value our heritage railways, and where a number of us who support the railways are very concerned about the report that's coming. Will it attempt to reduce any of the lines or any of the services? Would you be opposing that?
Okay, Deborah, Heather?
Sorry, just a couple of things there. Actually, the island is generally, the accommodation on the island is generally full basically from April through to the end of October. So it's because we've got a capacity issue, not so much that the island isn't full. Yes, of course, it grows in TT, but it grows because of a temporary accommodation that gets added on in that period. But actually, what we have is an issue outside of that April to October time to drive people here more consistently. In terms of Heritage Rail, the report has been out for a good few months now, and I'm on the working party supporting Heritage Rail and how it moves forward. If, in fact, Visit or me have the responsibility for looking at the marketing side, the pricing strategy, and the digitalisation of it.
Okay, Stephen.
Well, that didn't really answer what I have to say. But
what was your direct question, Stephen?
The direct question is: would you oppose any changes to the network?
Okay, if the recommendations are that the heritage railways are cut back, there was a rumour that parts of government wanted Laxey to Ramsey closed. Deborah, Heather.
I think that's probably unfair to ask Deborah, because that would be a policy question for the politicians. So the direct answer to the question, no, I wouldn't support any closure of any of the network.
Okay, Stephen.
Thanks. Now, my next question is, at the moment we've noticed, or you can read it yourself, and it's been announced that there's another round of applications for money for developments to help so-called brownfield sites, which I dispute in many of the cases. But secondly, is there any grant aid scheme if somebody wanted to, if a couple wanted to purchase a hotel, say, to invest in the industry? Is there a scheme where they can get help from Visit Isle of Man or Department for Enterprise?
Okay.
Or even provide, say, a tourist-related facility.
Okay.
There are schemes in place from the department that people can apply for if they want to invest on the island, whether it's brownfield sites or not, in tourism businesses.
Okay. All right. Stephen, we're going to leave it there. We're going to crack on. Thanks for calling today.
Thank you.
All right. Good to hear from you. 21 minutes before 1. Let's get to the answer phone.
Good morning. It's Nigel Sperring from Albany Tools and Albany House. I've been in the industry nearly 40 years and 30-odd years here in the Isle of Man. And I've seen some changes, and some not so good, some so good. And in your case, having somebody with experience within the industry in that position is very important. A couple of points I just want to bring up. We have spoken in the past, but I think it's really important that I thank you for the welcome centre that you've now taken over, and also the kiosk pods that's in the sea terminal that looks splendid. And hopefully when the shop is going to be open, or the shops will be open, then the right people will be put in there, marketed correctly. Hopefully the cruise team will put the passengers, when they come off the cruise ships, in the right direction for the shops, and we have the spend, which is what we want from the cruise ship passengers. And we need to market the island. You want to increase visitor numbers greatly, and we hear that all the time, but it's not just about the TT. I've always said that. I think ministers and government think the island survives its summer months on the TT. It doesn't. There's walkers, there's ramblers, there's people just on holiday, and there's the railway industry, and also, obviously, massively, is the cruise ship business. People don't think the cruise ship business brings money into the Isle of Man. Well, I'm telling you, it does. I started 6 years ago, and I've worked very hard promoting and marketing myself as Albany Tools Isle of Man across the globe with a number of cruise ship companies. And I know it's really important for us to send teams over to faraway places to go to these conferences and to market the cruise ship business. but also we've got to get on the back end of that. I've got a 6-seater minibus, but I'm taking people out this year on coaches using the Blue Badge Guide. But we're not just doing the heritage sites, which is what the Blue Badge Guides people are here to promote, and we're grateful that we've got them. Nikki's done greatly with the ancestral business. The market's there for the Americans for that, so we need to hit that market. Or hospitality providers can help you in any way, we will do so. And it's nice to see the terminal open in Liverpool. The minister was stood on his pedestal saying how wonderful it is now, clean and fresh. So I think he now needs to just concentrate on our sea terminal building and the airport down south, and let's see if we can get that up to scratch as well, because it's first impressions when people come here to the Isle of Man. It looks great in Liverpool. It now needs to start look good on the Isle of Man itself.
Deborah, Heather?
Thank you, Nigel. Always great to hear from you. And could completely concur. I think those are ambitions that we've got too. And I'm hoping Mrs. Maltby's on the Destination First board as well. I'm hoping we can really make a difference with that activity and that focus.
I'd agree as well with what Deborah's just said, but I would also add, Nigel, I completely agree. The Isle of Man is not just about the TT. The TT is also not just the only motorsport event that happens on the Isle of Man. We need to get better at telling people about what we have here and spreading that word. And I think MHKs as well as residents have that responsibility. You know, I would challenge people to take the opportunity to get out there, take 3 pictures, go to visit 3 different places that you haven't been to before, and share and tell people about those places, because, you know, as Nigel has just said in his a message, he is trying his best to try and encourage coach parties and visitors to see and explore the island. But I think we all have a responsibility to do that, and if obviously Visit Agency can help with that, then obviously we are there to enable, and that's exactly what we'd like to get that message across today, that we are an enabling department. Okay,
and Southern 100 I think is next Monday, the 8th of July.
It certainly is, yeah, and we have we work very closely with the Southern 100 club. It's their event, but we obviously try and support their event with marketing and to try with their strategy to be able to achieve what their objectives are.
OK, we're with Visit Isle of Man today on Mannin Line.
Happy 60th birthday, Manx Radio from Dapperbet Racing. Happy birthday!
Calling all employers. Are you searching for talent to join your team? Look no further than justthejob.im, the best jobs website for young people on the Isle of Man. Whether you're offering summer jobs, part-time posts, full-time roles, or exciting internships, Just the Job has you covered. And here's the best part. It's absolutely free to use. Justthejob.im. Start posting your vacancies today. Powered by Junior Achievement Together with the Z Zurich Foundation.
At the Isle of Man Creamery, we're proud to be a farmers' cooperative, owned and operated by our local farmer producers. The welfare of our animals is our top priority, and all our milk and dairy products are certified grass-fed, meaning the herd have more time outdoors roaming the pastures. We also only use bio-based milk cartons, so no fossil fuels are used in their production, plus we offer a full carton recycling service too. Isle of Man Creamery, crafted to perfection since 1934.
This year's Stage Ed West End Summer School is going to be even more magical, because as well as the chance to work with musical theatre pros and perform in front of family and friends, you could also land a part in Dick Whittington, this year's Christmas pantomime at the Villa Gaiety, supported by Zedra Isle of Man. The Stage Ed Summer School, back at Ballacameen High School Studio Theatre, 22nd to 27th July and 29th July to 3rd August, for all ages from 6 to 18. Visit stage-edholidayschools.com for details and booking. The Stage Ed Summer School with Zedra Isle of Man and your nation station, Manx Radio.
Until the 14th of July, you have the chance to win an LG 65-inch TV, courtesy of Waltons. Each week on the Manx Radio Facebook page will be a scrambled footballer's name. All you have to do is identify the person. To enter, tune in each weekday evening to Greatest Hits or Saturday Live, where we will announce a window of opportunity and you will have 5 minutes to text your answer and your full name to 166 177. The winner will be announced on Monday the 15th of July, so keep listening for your chance to win with Waltons and your nation station, Manx Radio.
The Mannin Line with Andy Wint.
With Visit Isle of Man today, and Michael's with us now. Hi, Michael.
Oh, hi there. How are you? All right?
Good, thanks. You're on with Visit Isle of Man.
Yeah, this is Michael Starkey speaking from the north of the island today. What I'd like to talk about, over the last couple of years, something wonderful has been happening on the island, and it's grown throughout the UK. And what it is wild swimming, outdoor swimming. In the UK alone, at the moment, I've just checked, there's roughly over 100,000, and it's growing rapidly. It's one of the fastest outgrown activities. It was spreading across the world, really. In the north alone, there's nearly 2,000 people. Sorry, 1,800. And in the Isle of Man, it's reaching nearly 3,000. It's because of all the wonderful beaches and shores we have on the island. But when I picked a little brochure up not long ago, there was no mention of I think there's a great market there for people to come and swim on the island and advertise it throughout this. And the group we're in is called the Manx Blue Tits. It's like a play on words. The emblem is a blue tit that you swim with. Now, I've never come across such a wonderful group of people caring, and they cared about the environment, and they cared about each other. And it's such a wonderful place to swim, all the little coves and beaches hidden away. And we mostly swim in the north, in Ramsey. In fact, it was me that just cleaned Ramsey Shore up by myself, by the way. I think Wilf has been on a few times.
Oh, is it you? Oh, right.
I cleaned it up. I cleaned the shore up with a wheelbarrow, a rake, and a grep, which is meant for a fork. And we made it so people can actually sit on it. It was unsittable before there. But I think there's a fantastic market out there. And I didn't see any mention in any of the brochures, so I just wonder if people you've got with you today would be interested in looking into this.
Okay, Deborah, are you familiar with that?
Yeah, no, and it's a great idea, Michael, and thank you very much for doing the work on the shore as well, because that's really greatly appreciated. Funnily enough, we were talking about it in our team. So one of the things, I've only been here 15 months, and one of the things we concentrated on at first was just to make a lot of noise, to get as much coverage as we could, basically so that people knew where the Isle of Man was, because we had a fundamental problem in terms of recognition. But now we need to get into specifics and really drive specific markets. This one feels to me very much like, I don't know if you ever heard of it, when people were doing park runs and they like to go to every park run in the country. Yeah. They sort of had an ambition. This feels very much like this. If we could get to all of those wild water swimmers, cold water swimming and all of that, all of those clubs, we've got a real opportunity for them. And you guys would be amazing as hosts.
Okay. All right. Thanks for that.
We just won the Biosphere Award last year, award for happiness, which is what life should be all about, really. Yeah. And everybody cares for each other. And it's just really a wonderful organisation.
Okay, all right. We appreciate that, Michael. Thanks for that. I just want to pick you up, Deborah, Heather. You're talking about the fact that people don't know about us. There's a generation of people on the Isle of Man that thinks everybody used to know about the Isle of Man. Anybody above a certain age knew what the Isle of Man represented. How much has the market changed?
Not dramatically. We still have a sort of over 55s appeal. It's slightly younger than the 70 plus when it was factory fortnight and everybody used to come here. The issue was about the competition that came up rather than particularly us doing anything that changed. But I do think it gives us an opportunity. One, Southern Europe is getting too hot. People are really disliking that level of heat. Two, they like the outdoors side that we've got has really evolved from post-pandemic, because people decided to go back to walking and all of those well-being things that Michael's just been talking about. I think actually we've got a really good offer. And if you look at our passenger survey, 60% of our visitors come for doing something in nature. That's their primary reason for being here, which is quite fantastic and something we've got abundance of.
Okay. Eddie, you're live with Visit Isle of Man.
Eventually, yeah. Thanks. While swimming, we've just been away to Lancashire, Cumbria, Scotland, Hebrides and everything. My wife does wild swimming, and she had a swim at St. Bees twice while we were away. And you can see right over to the Isle of Man from there. It's one of our closest points. And just to get one in quick, there was 100 turbines there, not one of them working. But that's not the point I wanted to come on to. We're talking about Steam Packet. Like I say, I've just been up Scotland, and a 2.5-hour trip to the Isle of Islay from Tarbert. That's a 5 hours return, £110. My cost from the Isle of Man, 3 3/4 hours, that's 7.5 hours total. That's 1/3 more exactly, £611. I suggest that now that we own it, although I doubt if this will ever happen because it's a government-run thing at arm's length, will we ever have a say in any of what happens to the steam packet fares? My suggestion would be, and a lot of other people out here, is last year you made 15 million. Put that back into reducing fares, and every year, every bit of profit that you make, put back in to reducing fares. Because when all's said and done, just like all supermarkets do, loss leaders, the money will come back. Yeah, okay. The minute you get people here to spend £1,000, if they've saved 700, they'll spend 700. If they've only saved 100, they'll only spend 100.
Okay, Sarah Maltby.
Yeah, well, we do know that our visitors do cite the cost of getting to the Isle of Man as a consideration when they're booking their holiday. However, as we heard from Elliot before, he's visited for 22 years and he mentioned that the cost does come into it. And I do agree that we have to do something about that. That is what the committee that has been established is actively working on, and obviously visits have made a contribution to that. I think it's there. It's right at the very front of our minds. We want people to come to the Isle of Man. They want to have a good time while they're here, and we need to give them good value for that money that they have spent. And that's what Visit Agency is trying their best to try to provide. Good, enabling the hoteliers and the restaurants and the cafes and all the other businesses to be able to upgrade their offering so that they can then go on to give our visitors that experience.
Is it down to the steam packet? I mean, will the steam packet decide what the fares are going to be, and that's that, or will Treasury get involved?
I mean, currently the steam packet run their own business. It's that arm's length piece, and their pricing strategy is their pricing strategy. Do we agree, feel the same? I guess for me it's more about the empty seats that could be sold to bring more people here to spend more money within the economy. But
and on that, we are trying to actively work with more day trippers, or trying to get people onto the island. We have got a bigger boat now which has got far more accessibility features as well, so there are options to try and broaden the scope of people who may not have been able to travel to the Isle of Man before. I mean, and now that we have got this,
are day trippers any sort of option for us?
I'd say never say never to any option, to be honest, but okay, that's probably going to be a future piece of work, but that's not something that we are discounting.
I mean, it's an opportunity for us, and I think when the committee, as Sarah said, has written their report, then hopefully we can see what can be done.
Okay. Thank you, Eddie. We're going to crack on because the full switchboard and lots of messages. I just want to get to this one. And this is from Lucy. It's actually Lucy George at the Welbeck Hotel. I've had people recently say they've had a fantastic time with the Heritage and Go Travel cars, love the Isle of Man, want to come back. Regarding opening hours, medium businesses such as ours, the Welbeck Hotel, family hotel, open to the public. My dad, Michael, has just had to work morning, noon and night over the past 3 weeks because it's difficult to get chefs with the various sicknesses and a general shortage. It's the kind of things people don't see when they complain. I understand from our guest point of view it can be frustrating if places are closed, but it's a very challenging time and we're lucky to have a fantastic team. Luckily, the kitchen team's back today, so Dad's got a day off. All joking aside, is it difficult to get chefs, Deborah Heather?
Yes, it's difficult to get chefs everywhere. It's difficult from a visa perspective. It's difficult because of post-Brexit. It's difficult because there's less qualified than there used to be. So we're in the middle of setting up a hospitality board that's going to focus on skills and trying to encourage people into the industry. We're not seen as an aspirational industry externally, but actually it's a great industry to be able to rise quickly. If you work hard and you're competent, you can actually get promotion very, very quickly.
But we got a curriculum at UC IOM for that. There's a big kitchen there, isn't there? A hospitality course.
And there are people joining that course, but we're not getting enough. That we do need to think and future-proof.
I thought chefs earned a fortune. That's what every restaurant owner tells me, that chefs earn a fortune.
Michelin-starred chefs earn a fortune, or television chefs earn a fortune. Obviously, demand is high and supply is low, and therefore they can get decent wages these days. But it's a hard job. It's, hot, sweaty. It can be split shifts. And as Lucy's just said, I've been in to see them, and he's in his chef whites and he's just done breakfast. And it is really hard work. But it's actually really rewarding as well. So we just need to encourage some of the youngsters into it, because it's quite a creative job.
Okay. Sarah,
yeah, well, I'd agree with that, as well as being on the DFE. I'm also in desk, so that's helpful, isn't it? So I can maybe pick this up with the team and just again remind them that we do need to try and do this joined up piece of work. And I guess that's what my job is to try and bring together these two departments to try and encourage and help find that skills board, exactly what the skills board is designed to do.
Okay, final one in from David, who just says, look, thanks for the programme, but what I hear are focus groups, meetings and discussions. Where does the progress come, Deborah, Heather?
Well, in the numbers. So the numbers were 20 million above what they were forecasted to be last year at 184 million. We're looking at 191 million, and that doesn't seem like a big gap this year, but that's because we have to get those infrastructure stuff, new hotels, new capacity to deal with the capacity issue to help us move forward. But it's short term, and I see them jumping quite quickly later on.
Okay, Sarah Maltby, are you optimistic about the future for tourism on the island?
Oh, absolutely. The Isle of Man is a very special place, and the more people that know about us, the better. But the island will always hold a special, very, very special place in people's hearts who leave the island, and it's also getting them back here and giving them the quality of life that we know and we all enjoy.
Hopefully we'll be back before Christmas. Good to talk to you today. Deborah, Heather and Sarah Maltby from Visit Isle of Man. Back to Open Line tomorrow.
WINT.